Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a really fascinating book that uses the, let's say, cold, hard logic of economics to solve our most personal, emotional, and, sometimes downright awkward problems. And we are starting with a question that shows you just how far economic theory can really reach. I mean, believe it or not, an economist would look at this and see a two-player signaling game. It's a perfect example of how this kind of thinking can be applied to our most intimate dilemmas. So stick with me as we unpack exactly what that means.
The source for today's explainer, Dear Undercover Economist, basically strips away all the social niceties to show how the so-called dismal science can give us surprisingly solid, no-nonsense advice for our most private problems.
So today, we're going to build a kind of mental toolkit. We'll explore 3 core economic concepts that, as you'll see, you can apply to just about everything, from dating to, say, arguments with your partner. Okay, let's dive right into this with our first tool. And this one is all about revealing hidden information. Figuring out what people really mean, not just what they happen to be saying. This powerful idea is called screening theory. And what it does is it helps you separate what people say from what they're actually willing to do. It's all about creating little tests, in a way, that force people to reveal their true intentions through their actions. So the crucial point here is learning to tell the difference between cheap talk, which costs nothing and is super easy to fake, and a costly signal. A costly signal is, well, it's expensive or difficult or even painful to do. It's hard to fake, and that's what makes it credible. You see, if someone sells their prized bachelor pad, they're not just talking. They're sending a very costly signal, and that's what makes it believable. This applies to dating, too. Just imagine you're at a speed dating event. Instead of just saying you're a great date, what if you offered a money-back guarantee? You give someone 2 tickets to a great show for your 3rd date. This signals some serious confidence. If she decides she doesn't want that 3rd date with you, hey, she can just take someone else. It's a bold, costly signal of your own charm. And this is a brilliant illustration of how this concept applies pretty much everywhere. I mean, even getting a bikini wax can be seen as what economists call a relationship-specific investment. It's a painful, costly signal. So the advice here? Make sure that your investment is met with a similar commitment. Maybe an expensive weekend away or, dare I say, an engagement ring? All right, let's move on and see how this builds to our next tool. This idea of viewing life's dilemmas as a strategic game, where understanding the rules is literally everything.
Let's take that age-old argument over the toilet seat. An economist doesn't look at this as a matter of etiquette, but as a problem of efficiency. The status quo rule, where you just leave the seat as you used it, actually requires fewer actions overall. It is, objectively speaking, the more efficient system.
And here's the key. Most relationships aren't a one-off transaction. They're what game theorists call an indefinitely repeated game. So arguing over who pays for a hotel isn't just about this one bill. It's about setting a pattern for future cooperation. And in a repeated game, a little generosity now often leads to the best results for everyone in the long run. You can even see something as simple as sharing dessert as a strategic problem. You have to weigh the utility, or, the happiness that you get from eating the cake yourself against the utility you get from seeing your partner enjoy it. True love, according to an economist, is when you can both agree on how to split it without any haggling at all. Let's move on to our final tool for today. This one is all about recognizing the incredible power of just waiting and keeping your options open. So this theory, it actually comes from the world of finance, but it applies perfectly to life's biggest decisions. It shows that delaying a huge, irreversible choice, like, say, marriage, can be an incredibly rational strategy. And why is that? Because you're giving yourself more time to gather information. So, let's say you're deciding whether to propose. You've got to weigh 2 things. On one hand, you have the cost of delaying, but on the other hand, you have the value of the new information you'll get by waiting another year. The only catch, of course, is that you need to be sure your partner is going to wait with you. Otherwise, that option might just disappear. This same logic applies to dating. I mean, how many people should you really date before you settle down? Economists call this an optimal experimentation problem. Think of it like deciding when to stop trying new dishes at a restaurant and just stick with your favorite. You need to sample enough to find a great option, but not so many that you miss your chance completely. So, what's the magic number? Well, get this. One really startling calculation puts your potential dating pool at 102 people. And the theory's advice? It's to be selective early on, but then to gradually lower your standards as time passes so you don't end up with, well, an economist. So we've explored these three pretty powerful ideas. Let's pull them all together and wrap this up by summarizing the rational toolkit that you can now use to see your own life just a little differently. Okay, here are the key takeaways. First, learn to look past the cheap talk and pay attention to those costly signals, actions that are genuinely expensive to fake. Second, know what kind of game you're in. Is this a one-time deal or a long-term relationship where cooperation is really the name of the game? And finally, recognize the value of your options and the power of waiting for more information before you make a big, irreversible decision. The real test, of course, is actually putting this toolkit into practice. So the next time you face a tough personal decision about love or family or even just sharing dessert, maybe take a step back and ask yourself, what would a rational economist do? The answer just might surprise you.